Hello everybody, that Runabout here, and welcome to the post-race thoughts for the Abingdon Marathon. Quite similar to how Mr. Rayner does it, FOD Runner, but I went outside for a walk and did some of it, and then I sat down outside the front door, which was brave because I'd just done a marathon the day before, and yeah, I just talked, so it's not particularly structured, not quite like Andy's, but just wanted to sort of get my thoughts out. And yeah, it's about 15 minutes long at least, so I thought best to have it separate from the actual race day vlog. So yeah, sit back and enjoy, and on to Past Matt for his Abingdon Marathon post-race thoughts. Right, here we are. What we're looking at, about 30 hours post. Just gone out for a walk. Tried 5 and 10 second bouts of running for all of 12 minutes per mile. So yeah, we'll just nip that in the bud for today, but walking a bit further than I normally would, which is, as I'm going to get into, I think it's a sign that I maybe didn't go quite as hard, but also that I am quite well recovered already. So yeah, thoughts about yesterday. I haven't looked at the footage yet, so I'm not sure what exactly I got. I know, just like Andy, I missed the finish, which he got a lot closer than I did, don't get me wrong, but yeah, I thought I'd saved enough camera for that, but was kind of my own fault for using so much for the first 5k. But yeah, 5k in, first 5k, all seemed, pretty chilled, pretty relaxed. Nothing majorly, hurting. Felt like small twinges, as you sort of expect, paranoia sort of vibes. And then yeah, we just ticked over. There was that little back and forth with the guy in purple, and I was like, shall I go with him early, or shall I sit back with this guy and go third, fourth? So that's what I did. So we just sort of metronomic. Obviously, I knew mile 4 was going to be a bit slower, because it's through that sort of, I wouldn't say trail, but it's probably the most off-roady bit of the course. So yeah, we just sort of cracked on until about mile 11, where the fun started. So yeah, got past 8-9ish miles. Got handed my first gel on the course and drink from father, as you will have seen. So that would have been third gel overall. Had what, I count the one before the start, and then one at about 4 miles, which went down fine. Drink, gel, just having bits and bobs of that, and yeah, dropped it off on like the corner. There's like and you can like cut through, which is why I cut through like on the spectating last year. So it cuts through between sort of 9 and 13 miles, and then like at 8, so like 17 and 21 miles. I chucked it down on that corner, so I thought Dad might see it and pick it up, which he didn't, because it was there on the second lap. And if you watch FOD Runner's video very carefully, you will actually see it on his perspective as well. So yeah, I dropped that down there, got some water from the next station, and then we went into Milton Park, 10 miles, cool, still cruising along, no problems. 10.5 miles, fine. 10.75 miles. Oh, okay, guess I need to use the loo. Out of literally nowhere, I've been before I left the house, been, queuing for the toilet and all this nonsense. It's going into the next marathon, bar one other thing which I will allude to later. That is probably like my main sort of, I wouldn't go as far as saying it's a problem, but it's just something I need to look at combating next time, because it's very 50-50 at the moment, almost literally. London 24, where the PB was, I had to stop, still got a PB, so don't ask me how that happened. Then Snowdon was fine, Abingdon 23 was fine, and then Abingdon 22 wasn't. So, I've got no idea what, it's not like I've been having a different breakfast I think I've had the same breakfast for the last maybe 5-6 years. So definitely since I started doing marathons at least. So, you know, your guess is as good as mine. So yeah, had to stop 20-25 seconds at the most, and then popped my head out. No one around, unfortunately. Turned the corner, and there was the guy that I was with for that first sort of, you know, up until I had to stop. And then what I didn't realise was how big of a group was behind us. There was about 6 or 7 of them, most of them in the English and Welsh Masters vests. So I thought, oh cool, that'll be, you know, I had a quick check behind me and I was like, oh, there's no one here. Not that I can like visibly see, that I'd like want to like slow down and then potentially catch up with later. So that was it, you know, essentially the last 15 miles. I say the last 15 miles, that's a long way. But that was it. It was like, just hunt them down and catch as many as you can. Oh, you would not believe how long it took me to get down here. Anyway, right, mile 13, just after halfway, was the second gel giving point, and so Dad was sort of half chasing me again, as you would have seen, and then he said, again, I'm not sure if it's, as I said, I haven't watched it yet, so I don't know if it picked it up. He said, this is the last gel I've got, and I'm like, well, hang on, I thought I gave you at least 3, if not 4. So God knows where those went. So I'm not necessarily saying I was changing anything, because the plan is, always has been, 1 before the start, and well, since London 24 it's been 1 before the start and then 3 on the course. I've never had any, you know, stomach issues doing that. Maybe in the future is getting another one in, because it's not a huge amount of carbs that I'm putting in, but of course having the Lucozade as well does help. Not huge, you know, compared to some of these like Morton drink mixes that I'm going to keep mentioning Fodrunner, because he's like sort of top YouTuber comparison that I actually sort of know, and I'd go as far as saying I'm mates with. So yeah, that changeover went fine, and as I said, I could see that sort of group that was ahead of me. They all sort of they'd started spreading out along that cycle track, so it was like, yeah, cool, let's just start picking up, start picking them off. And I'm not sure if they were brothers, but there was two guys that looked quite similar, and I was like, am I overtaking the guy that I was running with 3rd and 4th now? But either way, I went past him, and then I sat with 2 of these Masters runners for 3 or 4 miles. We turned left up onto like the only sort of significant climb of the race, 15 into 16 miles, and I could just see the other 2. So at this point, this is 5, 6, 7 we are, and I could see the other 3. So I could see 2 English vets and the guy in pink were there. I could see them in sight, and I'm like, oh well, the pink guy's not gone any further ahead, so he might be struggling a bit. So that was sort of not necessarily the tipping point, but I was in 2 minds. I was like, shall I sit with these 2 Masters runners for another 2-3 miles, or shall I just, you know, use the uphill to my advantage? You know, it's something that I feel like I go as far as saying I pride myself in. I'm good on the uphills, and use that to hunt these front 2 down. Because at this point in my head, the Welsh guy who was at the front in red, who you've obviously seen, he was gone. You know, I thought he's running 2:22, 2:23, something like that. He's out of the picture really. So yeah, I kept ticking miles off. I think I chucked the other Lucozade down at Dad, so I just sort of hung on to it the whole time. It just made sense. And I mean, I paid for it. My left tricep was absolutely ruined when I got to the finish. We turned that corner where I dropped the other Lucozade off, and I was in 2 minds. I was like, shall I just ease off for 2 seconds, pick it up and crack on? But I was like, you know, my brain wasn't going at that point. It was only 18 or 19, but I was like, no, just, if you slow yourself down again, you might struggle to get going. So yeah, just cracked on again with these two Masters runners. I can't even remember what mile it was up to. Probably about 21, maybe 22. I think it was just as we were going onto that cycle track for the second time, we were starting to lap people, and I sort of thought to myself, right, this is going to be when it's going to actually get difficult to make any sort of breaks, because although there were a lot of martial cyclists in front of me. That, you know, people might have headphones on, they might swerve a bit. So I was like, right, just try and push on a little bit now. So we came out of the second large lap just about unscathed, because there was a car there for like why is there a car there at this time? Which was a bit of an annoyance, but we got past it uninjured. So got through that, went through the little kissing gates, I guess you want to call them. Slow you down, which is exactly what you want 23 miles into a marathon. So yeah, just went through those little gates. What's this, about 23 and a half miles? Yeah, because I started recording at 24, hoping to get the last 2 miles, but yeah, got to 1.5, which was again a shame. And then the guy in pink just sort of turned out of this corner, and I'm like, well, either he's gone to use the non-existent restrooms there, or he's got lost. Overtook him, and he sort of said, well, I think I overtook him after I started recording, because it was through the underpass, because I'm like, he won't know what's coming. He probably hasn't done this before. So I waited until the underpass, powered up it, and then went round him. And he just sort of, he sort of exchanged as much as I could at that point, and he sort of said, well done. I'm like, mate, you're saying well done at 24.5. You should be dead to rights. You're not doing it hard enough. But yeah, overtook him, and then that was it. It was kind of like, just hope he doesn't, catch you back up. And, I was doing the maths in my head, and I was like, well, I think I'm fourth at this point. So if one of those three guys at the front, as I said, there was 2 English guys and the Welsh guy that had gone off at the start. If any of those three have stopped or are like severely struggling, then I might catch them. Otherwise, I'm fourth, and yeah, that's how it ended up. Heard it over the intercom, over the tannoy, and I was like, cool, fourth, nothing wrong with that. Considering, basically the last 8 weeks from this bad boy being a very bad boy. I put it on the Strava. I'd have absolutely bitten your hand off if you'd have told me the day after I did that and couldn't walk properly, like at all, and someone said to me, in 8 weeks' time you're running a sub 2:32 marathon. I'd have said, are you off your mind on something illegal? So yeah, fourth overall, and it turned out that both the English guys caught the Welsh guy, so he finished third, and then I can't remember the names of the guys that finished first and second, which is really bad because they did announce it. But I wasn't, as nice as it would have been to finish top 3, I wasn't hugely bothered. Much like all of the other races, I was first Grand Prix, first Oxfordshire, county champion, which is the first time I got county champion for the marathon, so that is good. Happy with that. So if I can, do it at Woodstock, which is 5 weeks away, hopefully I should be recovered by then. It's just a case if anyone else re-enters, because they've changed the entry date and they have reopened entries, to my knowledge at least, then hopefully I can do the 3-peat and get all 3. But we shall see. That's a few weeks out. But yeah, that just sort of sums it up. Nutrition during the run was fine. As I said, with that last gel, I think I took it a little bit later than I planned, and I sort of, took it over the course of about 1.5 miles, whereas the other 2, I just went yomp and just got it straight down. So I think the carb load beforehand went a lot better. I had a lot more. I think I didn't just sort of eat. I didn't just eat more. I definitely more sort of prioritized getting more carbs in as opposed to just eating more. I had 2 bagels on the Thursday and 2 bagels on the Friday, on top of what I normally have. Plus, I had a Voom bar, which was like 40 something grams of carbs on the Thursday and the Friday. So at least, like, I did top up in general anyway. So it was at least 120 grams of carbs more on the Thursday and the Friday. So again, it's not necessarily more than I've done before, but it was better. It was like better preparation in terms of I know I need to get more carbs, not just more food. So that was good. The race itself, you know, the conditions, like if they'd have happened today, it would have been horrible because it's been on and off rain all day from 9 o'clock instead of it started raining for the poor sods that took longer than 3.5 hours. But yes, I will go on to what I was saying. I was alluding to it earlier. The only other thing that I'm definitely going to look to improve on next time, apart from the gastro issues, which I think, simple answer, take a risk at London. Not necessarily take a risk. I'm going to pop an Imodium, maybe 2, and just see how it reacts with the body. Maybe I'll do it at potentially like Banbury 15, something like that, but I've never had problems there, so we'll see. But yes, the second thing that I definitely will work on is my hamstring strength, because both Abingdons, maybe not so much London and Snowdon, but maybe it's just because it's so flat, my hamstrings have just felt really weak from sort of maybe even as early as halfway onwards, and I just feel like I'm not getting that extended sort of long-term power out of them. So yeah, that will be, you know, just need to restart lifting heavier weights. You know, again with the knee, I've been, you know, just reintroducing those movements as opposed to just going all in and risking making it worse, which, you know, in my peak week it was actually like flaring up a little bit, so it was fine, you know, by the time we got started. If anything, my right knee was hurting more. I think I said it before the start, potentially due to imbalance between the two. But yeah, apart from that, I think that just about covers it. Whitney team, men's, I think might have been second Grand Prix. No offence to the other guys, obviously they've done it, so they've scored points, but mainly due to me because I was first, and obviously that's beating everyone. But shout outs to Headington, you know, as much as I absolutely detest them winning, they actually won the overall team prize, which I actually don't know the last time that happened for an Oxfordshire team at the Abingdon Marathon. Normally it's like I think Bristol and West won it in 23, and maybe St Albans won it in 24. Firstly, why? Bristol I sort of understand, it's not that far away, but St Albans just seems so far to come and do a relatively flat marathon. But, you know, each to their own. Yeah, so obviously Grand Prix to 100 points, that's pucker, and yeah, we will see where the men's team end up. Women's team, again, I think due to Catherine Jones winning the Women's County Championship, she runs for Woodstock, she will basically win Woodstock the team prize just by virtue of finishing first, but we will see. We did have 2 Whitney women running, so that might be enough. I'm not sure, it depends how many people they finished ahead of, but yeah, it will be one of those that will be like one place will be the difference between you know, potentially a lot of points. But that's up to Will to sort out, because there'll be team shirts and stuff like that to sort out, because the marathon is the most likely one where that will happen. So yeah, I think we'll leave it there. Just finally, we'll shout out all the volunteers. You know, obviously it's a marathon, there was 100 at a guess, marshals, maybe even more, handing out water, just general applause and stopping cars from running us over, which is nice. And the 2 run directors, Kate Brook is one and I can't remember the other one. I deeply apologise, I can't remember your name off the top of my head. I will put it here because you have race directed a marathon and you deserve the plaudits. All of the fast old men that did the England and Wales veteran championships. I shout out Andy Rayner because he's a top man and he deserves everything he gets in terms of the subscribers and views, because his videos are a damn sight better than mine. And yeah, parents, they drove me there, they gave me the gels, and they just sort of dealt with me for the last 8 weeks, you know, going from can't walk, I want to not be doing much at all, apart from maybe sitting in my room and crying, to, again, a sub 2:32 marathon, which is, you know, but that definitely means there's room for improvement, and maybe in the next video we will look into that. But we have got Snowdon in 6 days, so we'll get that done first and we will go from there. So if you did enjoy, please do like, share, subscribe, all the good stuff. And until the next one, trust the process. Bye.